Traders, this is Christian Farmer Certificate Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Monday, February 9th. No more football season. Nice game last night. If you were a Seattle Seahawks fan, which that was the way that I was going in terms of who I was rooting for to win. So, in any event, let's get to today's markets. A lot of green on the screen. Don't really see too much red on the screen other than the VIX was down 2.2%. Some nice outperformers. And look at this. Today was more of a growth day. The VUG ETF, which is more large cap growth, finished up 1% today. The value ETF was down 0.2 of a percentage point. Remember, that's been one of the big themes so far this year is really value has been outperforming on the for the large caps. The VTV ETF is still up 8%. Year to date, the VUG growth ETF is down 3%. Again, the small caps really where both value and growth have been excelling, but small cap value is up 11% year to date. So today, like I said, today was more about growth. You saw uranium was up. The uranium ETF was up over 5%. Software was up big today. Also, the metals and mining really came back today. That made a nice move. Both gold was up 2.5% and silver was up 8% today. So the metals came back very nicely today. You could see GDX was up 5.6%, silver 5.8. So even though it was a more of a growth day, still the metal space and some of the other areas outside of tech did very well today. Semis, nice performer today, tacked on another 1.2%. Tech was up 1.5%, meaning that some of the bigger cap names performed today. Aerospace and defense bounced back. That group has been a little bit under pressure as well. So nice moves. I want to just go over I'm going to talk a little bit more about software, but I thought this was very interesting. Like I've been doing this too. I've been making some comparisons between Bitcoin, which how much was the IBIT was up 1% today. It did start in the red, so it improved. But if you want to see what were the drivers of software today, there's been these comparisons with what Bitcoin has been doing and what software has been doing. And if you look at the movers today, right, you're going to see where that correlation is basically coming from. Some of these names were more or less like Bitcoin miners, but then they kind of turned more to data centers. So if you look at the names that did the best in the software ETF, it was Wolf, 16.5%. It was Cypher, up 14%. I don't know if APLD is in here. I guess not, but Core Z was up 10% today. Also Oracle and Unity Software, those had some big numbers today. So very nice move. I was able to take my first target. I did buy the dip in software using a call spread. I'm in the March 88.94 call spread, and I bought that for $1.60. I actually added a little bit lower than that. So I was able to take my first target at, I think it was $1.85 today. I think is where I was able to sell that. So, nice little bounce. And I'm sure some of you playing bounces in some of the single names that did very well today. Here's also, every weekend you could see by the way on the bottom of your screen the ticker rolling across. That's where you can get my midday note, as well as the watch list that I send out with setups. And I took a couple of these setups today. This is what our watch list looks like. I'll get this out of get the camera out of the way. But I kind of put in a mix of names that I thought that last week. But my names were more value centric. Like I had Apple in there. I had Walmart in there. I took those names out of this week's watch list. But the names that were on, what I'll do is I'll give out 3 or 4 names that are the focus names. But I had both Apple and Walmart on the list of what the focus names were last week. This week, I still included some value names, but I made it a little bit more growth, and also just what's really been working, like things like the optical names, which I'm going to talk about them in just a second here. But I was looking at both CDE. I had both CDE and I had Alcoa on my watch list. I chose to go with Alcoa today, but CDE did better. So let's go ahead and I've got a bunch of different charts to go through today. It was more of a I think single stock day, but definitely there's some levels to talk about in the overall indices because we've bounced back. And notice where SPY is once again. SPY is getting to the top of the range. Now, I can't tell you, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I know that we've got some resistance at 695.27. That's the top of the February value area, and that's where we got rejected right in the beginning of the month. But I would also add, too, that every time we get to around this top of the channel, there's a little bit of selling pressure that's come in a little bit. So I think after a nice, really nice 2-day move, you kind of want to keep that in the back of your mind. Tomorrow is also Tuesday, so it could be turnaround Tuesday, but not in the good sense. So again, always kind of thinking about risk and things to watch out for. The Qs also, which have been underperforming because it's large cap, more or less large cap growth, right? This is coming into some resistance. So the level that I would pay attention to is 617.76. Also note that this gap was filled here for this. So in any event, it's a real nice move. And again, I'll say this again as I'm going through more charts, but with all the CapEx spending that Meta's announced, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, I really think the recipients of where that money is going to be is the better trade, but that's just me. IWM also back to the top of the value area, and the only one that's I know I actually SPY I think is above the short-term moving averages, but very close to breaking back above, and that level is 267.25. So for now, all three of these have recovered, but still are not like showing market leadership. Again, I would maybe say that IWM is showing leadership if we didn't see some of the other things being breaking out. The diamonds, which were down about 0.5% today, they underperformed, but they still finished green. But there's your breakout there. Your mid caps have broken out. Again, not a big mover today because today was just some different areas than last week that were performing well. Same thing with the Cow Z ETF, right? This is cash cows. DVY. So again, for now, even though these all kind of just had digestion days, but these to me are the market leaders. The semis I would also throw in there too. Semis had a nice move, but they could not close above that value area for the month. That level is 407.43. One ETF that I want to bring your attention to, this is something that we added to the TTG Global Trend portfolio, which you can get access if you subscribe to the Substack note, ttdtrading.substack.com. This is something where I was kind of just noticing that there is some really nice strength in telecommunications. Look at the breakout here. Again, not too many people talking about this. I know for whatever reason, people really noticed the consumer staples. It's funny the things that people pick up on. It seems like more and more people were talking about consumer staples, but they missed the boat on a lot of other sectors. One being telecom, another one being, I don't know why people don't like to mention the industrials breaking out, but the industrials look great. The banks, which again, it wasn't about the banks today. The banks have broken out. Materials have broken out. Transports have broken out. But people love to talk. Oh, they're like, I can't get involved in the consumer staples right now. I'm like, well, why do you need to get involved in the consumer staples? Yes, I think that's probably, it's funny what goes around on social media and about how much attention the consumer staples get, breaking out of a couple years sideways base. But please don't do more research, do more, look at more things than just the consumer staples. And I saw so many people saying, oh, you really shouldn't be getting involved in the consumer staples here. Well, yeah, of course not. But there's 5 or 6 other sectors or groups that you can look at and analyze and go through some of those charts. But again, everybody, I also got a lot of tweets at me too this weekend saying, oh yeah, it's consumer staples, that's defensive. Well, okay, well, look at everything else, right? That's going on. So in any event, I brought up that ETF IYZ. I went ahead and put this in the TDD trend portfolio because I like this. It was has a little bit more risk to it. This is XTL. And again, you think telecom, oh, that's defensive. That must be consumer staples. Well, I don't think that if you always, you should be looking at the individual names that are involved in this. And if you look at today's movers in the telecom, the XTL, oops, oh, sorry about that. Back to this. There we go. And you'll see that it was VSAT, UI, AAOI, Sienna, ONDS, VIAV, Light, CALX, right? So these Arista networks. So it's actually like, again, don't be, in my opinion, don't get discouraged by if you see the name of an ETF and you're like, oh, that must just be like AT&T and Verizon. Well, they're in there too. And they, by the way, they had, good earnings, but it's also a lot of other names in there. And hence that was up decently in the TTG global trend portfolio right now, which again is outperforming quite nicely the indices and is a basket of right now all different groups, sectors, international ETFs. So next, we could talk a little bit about this group, the optical names, and I think right now in tech, right, you've got a couple different spots of strength. One of which is the optical group, and again, it's not. People think I've heard this the other day on social media. They're like, "Oh, that's for the glasses, for like the Meta glasses." No, it goes into a lot of the AI trade. So this is Corning, which is broken out. Sorry, I keep bringing up the wrong symbols here. Sienna, also very nice move. Remember, this was just added to the S&P. Light, which has had a really good earnings quarter and has continued to move higher. This is the name that I got involved in today, VIAV. Whoops, VIAV. Let me try that again. That's a nice break higher. Again, really good earnings, consolidating a little bit, and my price target is up here at 29.63 for now. But again, when you can find 4 or 5 names that are all moving like that, it just tells you that there's something going on in the space. And clearly we've seen that happen in the memory chip space. I just wanted to bring your attention to SanDisk too at this point, right? Had a great quarter. Let this thing consolidate in here. Right? This is really good. Rest of the market's kind of doing some other things. I would not take your eyes off SanDisk right here. Yes, it's up a lot, and this is actually a good thing for this to cool off a little bit. But notice what it's doing in here. It's building a pennant or a flag, and I think that this resolves higher. Also, when you look at the 1-hour chart, you can kind of see what's going on here. The price action is getting really tight here. So yes, it's going to have to get through this value area. But even let's say if SanDisk just goes sideways this week, it would make it even more attractive for next week because the value area is going to be super, super tight. So set a couple of alerts on this one, maybe at the top of the range right now, maybe around 618. But this right now is a sleeping giant. So yeah. What else did I take today? I feel like I took one other trade today. I mentioned Alca. Oh yeah, LPTH. Right now, this one's going to report earnings in a couple days, but it did make a nice turn, so I'll only have this one on for short term. Another one that I've been kind of riding at this point is Form Factor. Right, definitely looks like it's still being accumulated here. They had a really good quarter. They make a lot of things that go into chips, wafers and things like that, which also brings me to looking at Teradyne, which has also been on a really nice clip higher. So there's a lot of things, again, more of these names that we look at. I had mentioned a few minutes ago that I'm really not interested in right now in what do they call them? The hyperscalers, the mega scalers, the hyperscalers. Right? I think they're going to go up and down and all around, and Amazon is down here at the bottom of the value area, and I think it has a chance to hold that. This was down today. I think where I'm going with what I've learned from earnings is that, Amazon, Google, and I think Google will be choppy from now on too. It's just kind of hanging out here, up 0.5%, but do I want to own these things here? No, I want to own what they're going to be spending on, right? And a lot of that includes both optical names as well as some of the semiconductors as well. I think that's probably it for today's video. Again, I'm still watching the metals and mining space here. That's a really nice candle for XME, turning back higher, up 2.4% today. I'll be watching. Unfortunately, this name has earnings this week, but I like the dip in this Albemarle, which is more lithium than anything else, but just another another name out there in the metal space. As I mentioned, I did trade Alcoa today, almost to the top of the range. Notice the bullish 80% rule. So it's going to be coming upon resistance at 64.12. I mentioned CDE was on the watch list. I did not trade this one, but this one got back above all its short-term moving averages too. Not a bad dip buy into that 50-day moving average. Hindsight 2020. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Real nice day, and nice to see growth pick up the ball and run with it today. And good performance, good participation